My name is Natavia Sanders, and I remember that morning as if it were etched into my skin. It began like any other day, quiet, unassuming, the kind of morning that tricks you into believing the world is still safe. The sun spilled golden light across my kitchen floor, the smell of fresh coffee clinging to the air. I sat at the small wooden table my grandmother had passed down to me, sipping from a chipped mug I couldn't bring myself to replace. It was supposed to be just another day, but from the moment I opened my eyes, something had felt off. I brushed it away at first, told myself I was just tired, overthinking, letting my imagination get the better of me. But deep down I knew, you always know, don't you? That tightening in your chest, the way your body warns you before your mind catches up. Still, I went through the motions. I showered, pulled on my navy blue dress, the one that hugged me just enough to feel professional without losing comfort, and tied my curls back with the old satin band I wore too often. At 26, I had grown good at keeping my life together, or at least looking like I did. But there was that sound again. While I buttered my toast, I heard it, like someone dragging their foot across gravel outside. I froze, knife hovering midair, ears straining. The neighborhood was usually quiet that hour. Too quiet. I set the knife down, peeked out the window. Nothing. Just a stretch of cracked sidewalk, the mailbox leaning slightly to the left, and the pale morning light draped over my little corner of the street. Still, I swore I'd seen a shadow move across the edge of the fence. I shook it off, told myself it was probably just a stray cat. I laughed under my breath. Because what else was I supposed to do? Fear wasn't something I could afford to carry around. Not when I already carried so much else. I grabbed my bag, locked the door, and tried to breathe past the unease. At work, I kept catching myself drifting, my thoughts snagged on that morning noise. I work at a community center just outside the city, the kind of place where kids run wild in hallways that smell faintly of crayons and disinfectant, where single mothers come for help with job applications, where the elderly sit in plastic chairs telling stories too precious to be ignored. It's work that matters, work that gives me a sense of purpose. But that day, my mind wasn't fully there. When I returned home later that evening, the unease clawed right back at me. The mailbox was open. My mail was scattered across the yard like someone had rifled through it. At first, I thought it was kids playing a prank, but then I noticed the boot prints. Muddy, heavy, too large to be mine, too fresh to be old. I felt my stomach drop. I gathered the mail quickly, clutching the papers to my chest as if they could protect me. My hands trembled as I fit the key into the door. That's when I noticed the gate. It had been locked when I left that morning. I always lock it. Always. My father raised me on caution. A locked gate is the first line of defense, he used to say. But now, the gate swung lazily on its hinges, creaking in the evening breeze. I stepped inside and my heart stuttered. The air was wrong. Thick, like someone had been inside only moments ago. I walked from room to room, my eyes scanning for signs. That's when I saw it. My refrigerator door slightly open, a plate of leftovers half-eaten, like a stranger had sat at my table in my home and made themselves comfortable. I wanted to scream. I wanted to call someone. But who? The police? Would they even believe me? A young black woman, saying someone was inside her home with no forced entry? I could already imagine the questions. Are you sure you locked the door? Are you sure you didn't just misplace your food? So I did what I always do. I convinced myself I was imagining it. I closed the fridge, wiped my eyes, tried to breathe, but then I went to my bedroom. My closet door was open, and my clothes, my neatly folded clothes, were shuffled as if someone's hands had been rifling through them. My favorite jacket was hanging crooked, half slipped from the hanger. That's when the fear broke through. I backed out slowly, every step measured, every breath shallow. I grabbed my phone. My thumb hovered over 911, but I didn't press it. Not yet. Instead, I locked myself in the bathroom, sat on the edge of the tub, and tried to think. Tried to piece it together. Maybe I was being paranoid. Maybe there was some explanation. But then, a sound, a creak, from the hallway. Someone was in my house. My pulse roared in my ears. I held my breath, staring at the bathroom door as if sheer will could keep it shut. The sound came again, closer this time. A footstep, then another. Slow, deliberate. I couldn't ignore it anymore. My fingers shook as I finally dialed 911. The line rang once, twice, then a voice. 911, what's your emergency? I swallowed hard, whispering into the phone, there's someone in my house. Silence pressing around me. My reflection in the bathroom mirror looked like a stranger. Wide eyes, trembling lips, terror written across my face. The operator's voice crackled back. Stay calm, ma'am. Can you confirm your address? Before I could answer, the footsteps stopped. The silence was worse. And then 3 sharp knocks rattled the bathroom door. I clutched the phone, my breath shallow, my heart hammering so loudly I thought the whole world could hear it. Ma'am, the operator repeated, her voice urgent now. Stay with me. Officers are on their way. But in that moment, I knew help might be coming, but it might not come in time. And as the knocks turned into the slow, deliberate sound of the doorknob twisting, I realized my night was only just beginning. The doorknob turned with a slow, metallic scrape that made every muscle in my body tighten. I pressed my back against the cold tile of the bathroom wall, clutching my phone so tightly it dug into my palm. Please hurry, I whispered into the receiver. The operator's voice remained calm, steady, too steady. Ma'am, stay where you are. Officers are en route. Can you lock the door? It's locked. I hissed back, my eyes locked on a rattling handle. But he's right outside. He knows I'm in here. Silence stretched on the other end for a beat too long, and I thought I heard the faint clicking of keys, maybe her typing my address, dispatching someone. But that silence felt dangerous, as though the line between me and the outside world could snap at any second. The rattling stopped. My ears strained into the silence. Then, suddenly, the sound of retreating footsteps, soft, steady, moving away from the bathroom. My lungs seized as though I'd been holding my breath the entire time. Relief should have washed over me, but instead, dread coiled tighter in my stomach. Whoever was in my house wasn't gone. They were just waiting. The operator spoke again. Ma'am, stay with me. Officers are 3 minutes out. 3 minutes. It felt like a lifetime. I pressed the phone to my ear, tried to listen to her voice, but my attention kept snapping back to the faint creaks outside the bathroom. Then another noise, this one from farther away. A door shutting. The front door. I blinked. Did they leave? My heart begged me to believe it, but my instinct screamed otherwise. Ma'am, the operator urged, do not leave the bathroom until the officers arrive. But I couldn't sit still. Not when my house, the only piece of my family's legacy, had been invaded. I had to know. Slowly, I unlocked the bathroom door. The hallway stretched before me, dim and quiet. My legs trembled as I stepped out, one cautious step at a time. My eyes darted from shadow to shadow. The living room looked untouched. The kitchen, too. My chest lifted with a shaky breath. Maybe they really had left. Then came the knock. Not on the bathroom door this time. On the front door. 3 hard, deliberate knocks. I froze. Ma'am? The operator asked, her voice faint in my ear. Talk to me. What's happening? There's someone knocking. I whispered. They came back. But the longer I listened, the more I realized this knock was different. Louder. Commanding. Police? Open up, a voice barked. Relief flooded me so hard it made me dizzy. I stumbled toward the door, fumbling with the lock. When it finally gave, I pulled it open to reveal 2 uniformed officers, their flashlights cutting through the dim entryway. You Natavia Sanders? One asked. Yes, I breathed, almost sobbing. He was here. Someone was inside my house. He ate my food, went through my closet. Calm down, ma'am. The other officer interrupted, stepping past me into the house. His hand hovered near his holster, flashlight beams sweeping the walls. We'll check it out. They split up quickly, one heading down the hallway toward my bedroom, the other circling through the kitchen. I stood in the doorway, hugging myself, shaking so hard my teeth chattered. Minutes dragged. Every creak of the floorboards under their boots sent shocks through my system. Finally, one of them emerged from the hallway. No one's here. My chest clenched. No, I heard him. He knocked on the bathroom door. He was right outside. There were footprints, and my things were moved. The officer exchanged a look with his partner. One of those silent conversations people have when they don't want you to notice. Ma'am, the taller one said carefully, are you sure you weren't just startled by something? Maybe you came home and thought. I'm not imagining this. My voice cracked. He was here. He touched my things. He was in my house. The words echoed in the room, brittle and desperate. The shorter officer shifted uncomfortably, scratching the back of his neck. Look, we'll file a report, okay? But there's no signs of forced entry. Nothing's broken. It could have been, he trailed off, glancing at me as if the rest of his sentence was too insulting to say aloud. A misunderstanding. Stress. A woman alone letting her imagination run wild. I wanted to scream. Instead, I bit down hard on the inside of my cheek, tasting blood. I could feel myself slipping into the role they expected of me. The frantic young woman, too emotional, too easily dismissed. But then, a sound. All three of us heard it at once. A soft scrape, coming from the back door. The taller officer's hand snapped to his gun. The other raised a hand for me to stay put as they crept toward the kitchen. My heart hammered so violently I thought I might collapse. I stood frozen in the entryway, every nerve ending straining to hear. The silence was thick, and then in the distance, the faint clink of metal against metal, like a key turning in a lock. The back door. My blood ran cold. I wanted to scream again to warn them, but the words died in my throat. The taller officer barked. Police? Step out where I can see you. Nothing. Then the kitchen lights flickered. I stumbled back, clutching the doorframe for balance, as one officer swept the back door, his flashlight beam cutting into the yard. The other followed close behind. Seconds later, the crack of a gunshot split the night. I screamed. My body lurched forward instinctively, but my legs wouldn't carry me. I froze in the middle of the living room, hands over my ears, tears blurring my vision. The radio on one officer's shoulder squawked with frantic static. Shots fired, shots fired. I didn't know if they'd been the ones to fire, or if someone else had. The house fell silent again. My own ragged breathing was the only sound I could hear. And then from the kitchen doorway, a figure appeared. But it wasn't either of the officers. It was him, the man from my house. His face was half hidden by the shadows, but I saw the glint of something metallic in his hand. His steps were calm, slow, purposeful, and then he smiled. Did you really think they could protect you? He whispered. I couldn't move, couldn't breathe. The operator's voice still crackled faintly through my phone, forgotten in my grip. Ma'am? Ma'am, are you there? Stay with me. But I knew staying was no longer an option. He was standing there. The man I had only heard, only sensed, only glimpsed in shadows. Now fully in front of me, as real as the terror pumping through my veins. His smile was wrong. Not kind, not human. It was a kind of smile people wear when they already know how the night is going to end. The metallic object in his hand caught the flickering light. A knife. I backed up, every step shaky, my body trembling so badly I thought my knees might collapse beneath me. Please, I whispered, my voice raw. Don't hurt me. His smile widened. You already called them, he said softly, nodding toward the distant sound of radios still squawking outside. But the thing about cops, they never come fast enough. My phone was still pressed in my hand, the operator's voice faint but panicked. Ma'am, what's happening? Officers are there. Stay calm. I didn't answer her. I couldn't. My throat was too tight with fear. He stepped closer, the floor creaking beneath his weight. My body wanted to run, but my feet were stuck, as if nailed to the ground. Then boom, the back door burst open. One of the officers stumbled inside, his flashlight beam slicing across the kitchen. Police! Drop it now. The man's smile faltered, but only for a second. He tilted his head, eyes flicking between me and the officer. And then, without warning, he lunged. Chaos exploded. The officer shouted, his weapon drawn. I dropped to the floor, covering my head, the deafening sound of another gunshot splitting the night. My ears rang. My chest heaved. The world blurred. When I dared to lift my head, the man was gone. Vanished. Like he had melted back into the shadows of the house. The officer rushed past me, shouting into his radio. Suspect on the move. Armed, backyard, heading east. I stayed curled on the floor, my body shaking uncontrollably, tears streaming down my face. I wanted to believe it was over, but I knew it wasn't. Not yet. The second officer reappeared, helping me to my feet. His eyes scanned me quickly, making sure I wasn't hurt. We need to get you out of here now. I nodded weakly, clutching my phone like it was the only thing tethering me to the world. They led me outside. The night air was cool against my wet cheeks, but it didn't soothe me. Police cars lined the street, red and blue lights, painting the houses in frantic color. Neighbors stood on their porches, whispering, pointing, watching. But all I could think about was him. He had been inside my home. He had touched my life. And now he was out there, free, alive, and still smiling somewhere in the dark. One officer sat me on the curb, a blanket draped over my shoulders, his words gentle but firm. We'll find him. I promise you, ma'am, we'll find him. I nodded again, but deep inside, I didn't believe it. Not really, because I knew something they didn't. When the man stood in my living room, just before the officer burst in, he had whispered something else, something only I heard. You can lock every door, call every number, but I'll always be one step ahead. You belong to me now. The words replayed in my head on a loop, each repetition tightening its grip around my chest. The officers might chase him tonight. They might even arrest someone tomorrow. But those words, his promise, had already rooted themselves inside me. And as I sat there under the flashing lights, the blanket heavy on my shoulders, I realized the 911 call hadn't saved me. It had only marked the beginning. Because now, no matter where I went, no matter how many locks I turned or alarms I set, I would never truly feel safe again. The night I dialed 911 was a night I lost more than peace. It was a night I lost myself.